Magic Treehouse Club. Tonight, Jack and Annie will be visiting one of the most important baseball games in history. Tonight's Magic Treehouse book is Magic Treehouse number 29, A Big Day for Baseball. Our story begins with Jack reluctant to go to baseball tryouts at the rec center. Last year, he fell during tryouts, and everyone laughed at him, so he really doesn't want to go. Annie reminds him that she made mistakes too, but their whole family loves baseball. Before Annie can continue to try to get Jack to change his mind, a baseball falls from the sky. Annie thinks it's a message from Morgan, so they head to the treehouse. When they get inside, they find a book called The History of Baseball. Jack finds a bookmark on a page with a picture labeled Ebbets Field, Brooklyn, New York, April 15, 1947. They also find 2 baseball caps. Annie says there is a message on the bookmark, and after checking the handwriting, they realize it's from Morgan Le Fay. The note says, "'Twas a big day for baseball so many years ago. Journey to Ebbets Field to learn what you should know. These caps are magic, made only for you, to give you the skill to know what to do. As long as you wear them, all others will see the skillful people you're pretending to be. When you hear the final score, give the ball with the name to the one who knows best the rules of the game." Jack and Annie are excited that people are going to think they are great baseball players, and Annie decides to name the baseball Fly Ball. After that, they head to their destination. When the treehouse lands, Jack and Annie are in baseball uniforms, due to the magic of the treehouse. Jack is disappointed that they are bat boys and not player uniforms, but Annie says this must be part of Morgan's plan to make them great baseball players. As soon as they put on the caps, they feel very knowledgeable about baseball. They both leave the treehouse excited to see Ebbets Field, and after walking through a park, decide to ask some kids for directions. The kids tell them the way to go, but that they need to hurry since the game starts in an hour. As Jack and Annie start to run in the direction of the field, 2 of the young children offer to show them a shortcut. Their names are Otis and Olive, and they're twins, and also huge baseball fans. Together, the new friends head to Ebbets Field. When they arrive, Otis and Olive say this game is particularly important and is the opening game between the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Boston Braves, and it's going to be a very big day for baseball. When they finally get to the field, Jack and Annie realize there is an admission fee, and they don't have any money. Luckily, since they are there as bat boys, they are let inside. However, their new friends, Otis and Olive, are not allowed in. Jack and Annie thank them and say their goodbyes. Jack and Annie are impressed at the size of the field and all the people inside. As they are walking around, they notice a huge crowd of people around a player of African American descent and see that he is signing autographs. But before they can meet him for themselves, they are called away by the team manager to act as bat boys. Jack and Annie quickly prepare the supplies and equipment for the team. They are preparing things for the visiting team, the Boston Braves. Jack and Annie finish their work 5 minutes before the start of the game. As the game begins, Jack and Annie quickly take their seats. But when it's time for the national anthem, everyone stands and takes their hats off, and Jack is worried about Annie being exposed as a girl. Luckily, they find a dark corner and no one notices them. After that, the game begins, and Jack and Annie get back to work giving the players bats and baseballs. As the game progresses, Jack wonders why Morgan sent them to this game in particular. As he watches the game, he notices the crowd is beginning to yell and shout. Some of them are saying mean things like "go home" and "you don't belong here." Jack thinks the rude and unkind things that they are yelling are directed at him and shouts back, "You should get out of here." But then he realizes they aren't yelling at him, but the player of African American descent from the Dodgers who he saw signing autographs earlier. He also notices that some members of the crowd are saying really terrible things, but others are cheering and happy. When the player's turn is over, Jack feels really bad for him and wants to go talk to him. But before he can, another kid bumps into Jack and steals his cap. Without the cap, the magic that has made him a bat boy disappears, and the guards realize Jack doesn't belong there and start to chase him. He searches for Annie and when he finds her, says they need to leave right away. But before they can, they are caught by stadium security. Annie quickly gives Jack her cap, but then, since she's not wearing the cap, the magic isn't working on her. And despite trying to switch the caps back and forth, they are eventually exposed, and the guards begin marching them out of the stadium. After they have been kicked out in such a mean manner, they run into their friends, Otis and Olive, outside. They say they saw what happened under the grate of the stadium and are amazed at the magic of the caps and how they transformed Jack and Annie. They offer to take Jack and Annie to a place where they can hear the final score of the game. As they dodge streetcars and take shortcuts, Otis and Olive explain that it is believed that this is how the Dodgers got their name, since, in order to get to the stadium, they had to avoid the streetcar. They soon arrive at their destination, the home of Otis and Olive's two grandmothers, great-grandmother, and two great-aunts, who love to spoil the twins and let them listen to the radio. They call it the Granny House. When they get inside, the house smells of fresh cookies, and they can hear the game on the radio. The grannies are all rooting for number 42, a player named Jackie. Jackie is still curious as to why this game is so special, until number 42 makes a home run, and the announcer on the radio says the player's full name, Jackie Robinson. Jack and Annie get very excited as they realize why this game was so important. Jackie Robinson made history as the very first African-American player who was able to play with white players in Major League Baseball. Everyone is very excited for Jackie's success, and after everyone hugs, cheers, and calms down, the grannies finally notice Jack and Annie. Olive and Otis introduce them, and the grannies welcome them and offer them cookies before going back to listen to the game. The Dodgers win. The announcer says that Jackie Robinson has completed his first game in the major leagues. Jack and Annie decide to give fly ball to Otis and Olive, but they say they have plenty and show them their collection. They keep it in their great-great-grandmother's room to keep them safe. Granny Beck herself is sleeping in a rocking chair in the room, and the twins explain she is 101 years old and was born before the Civil War. She wakes up when she hears the kids talking about her and asks Olive and Otis to introduce their new friends. When Olive and Otis say Jack and Annie were at the game, Granny Beck asks if they saw Jackie Robinson while they were there. They say yes, and then she asks if the crowd cheered for him. And they also say yes. Then she asks if everyone cheered for him. And Jack is honest and says no, some people were very rude and unkind. She then asks them what Jackie did in response to the jeers and insults. The children tell her he ignored them and kept his head held high. Granny Beck is very happy to hear that, and how Jackie kept his dignity and rose above the bad manners and cruelty of others. She advises the children to always keep their eyes on the good and to keep their self-respect. After she says that, Jack and Annie notice that writing has started to appear on Flyball. It is a signature from Jackie Robinson. Jack and Annie remember Morgan's note and realize Granny Beck must be the person they need to give the ball to. Granny Beck is very happy and says she is most likely Jackie's oldest fan before going back to her nap. Jack and Annie tell Olive and Otis how wonderful Granny Beck is before telling them they have to head back home. They talk a little bit about how things are different between the 1940s and today, and the twins hope that Jackie's achievement will make things better. The kids say their goodbyes, and Jack and Annie head back to the treehouse after Olive and Otis suggested one last shortcut for them to take. When they get back to Frog Creek, Jack and Annie already miss their new friends. They talk about how kids in the 1940s were very under-supervised compared to how they are now, from what they heard from their grandfather and what they saw today during their visit. Before heading home, they decide to read more about Jackie Robinson in the book. It tells them all about his achievements, such as his history-making game of April 14th, 1947, how he was named Rookie of the Year in 1947, and was a World Series champion in 1955. The book also talks about Jackie Robinson's courage, dignity, and talent, and how he was an inspiration to many in the civil rights movement. Jack is also inspired by Jackie and decides to try out for the baseball team at the rec center. And even if he doesn't make the team, he wants to participate in other ways. As they hurry home, they realize Morgan sent them to this particular game so they could learn to be brave and keep going. Let's learn more about Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson was born Jack Roosevelt Robinson on January 31st, 1919, in the town of Cairo, Georgia. He was the youngest of 5 children. Before Jackie was even a year old, the family moved to Pasadena, California. As a child, he discovered a love of athletics and played football, basketball, and of course, baseball. He even ran track. In fact, Jackie wasn't the only athlete in his family. His older brother Mac was an Olympic athlete who earned a silver medal in the 1936 Olympics. He lost the gold medal to another famous barrier-breaking athlete, Jesse Owens. Jackie attended the University of California, Los Angeles on a scholarship and was the first athlete in the school's history to letter in 4 sports during the same school year. To letter in a sport means you've played an important part in the team's success and done very well overall. After college and serving in World War II, Jackie played for a team called the Kansas City Monarchs. At the time, African Americans could only play on teams with other African Americans. They were paid less and often had to sleep on buses when they traveled to other cities to play. Just when Jackie was getting aggravated with how things were going for him playing with the Monarchs, he was given the opportunity to play for the Brooklyn Dodgers by the team's president, Branch Rickey. Rickey wanted to end segregation of professional baseball and believed Jackie had the talent and personality to do it. In 1947, on April 15th, Jackie made history, playing with the Dodgers for the first time on Ebbets Field. He was named Rookie of the Year that year and went on to be a World Series champion in 1955. After retiring from baseball, he devoted his life to activism and fighting against racism. Let's learn more about baseball. Baseball, sometimes known as America's pastime, is believed to have been invented sometime in the 1800s. The game is similar to the British games of cricket and rounders, but baseball has a few unique features. The first official baseball game was played in 1946 by a group called the Knickerbockers. The name came from the style of pants early Dutch settlers wore in New York City. Since the majority of Knickerbockers were wealthy New Yorkers just playing for fun, professional baseball teams would not emerge until a few years later. The first professional team was the Cincinnati Red Stockings. They played their first game in 1869. Today there are 30 teams that play in Major League Baseball professionally, and countless other minor league teams and school leagues throughout the country. While baseball may have started out as America's pastime, it has become popular around the world. Some of the countries where it is most popular include Japan, Cuba, South Korea, the Dominican Republic, and Canada. In fact, one Canadian team, the Toronto Blue Jays, were so successful they won 2 back-to-back World Series in 1992 and 1993. The World Series is the biggest event in Major League Baseball. During the season, which normally runs from early April to late September, teams constantly play against each other and compete until the 2 best teams of the year face off. The New York Yankees are the team that has won the most World Series. They've won a grand total of 27. The team with the second most World Series wins is the St. Louis Cardinals. They've won 11 times. Some of the most famous World Series wins include the 2004 World Series, where the Boston Red Sox won after an 86-year losing streak, or when the Red Sox and the now Los Angeles Dodgers faced off in 2018 for the title. And one of the games was the longest baseball game in history. It was 7 hours and 20 minutes long. While an 86-year World Series losing streak is pretty sad, there is another team that suffered an even longer one. The Chicago Cubs won a World Series in 1908, but did not win another one until 2016. That was a whole 108 years later. The whole city celebrated when they brought home the championship. Learn more about these topics with some books here at the library. Tonight on Magic Treehouse Club, Jack and Annie journeyed to one of the most important baseball games in history. It was the very first game of Jackie Robinson. So we're going to make a Jackie Robinson craft. For this craft, you'll need the supplies in your activity bag. the various paper shapes, the googly eyes, the green piece of paper, and you'll also need some sort of glue and a blue crayon and a brown crayon. Let's get started. So, to make my Jackie Robinson, first I'm going to take this white shape here and glue it on to the green piece of paper. This will be Jackie's Dodgers uniform. Next, I'll glue on Jackie's head. After that, it's time to make Jackie's baseball cap. So I'll take this blue piece of paper here and glue it on Jackie's head. Next, I'll take this smaller piece of paper, glue it here to make the bill of his baseball cap. Then I'll take the letter B and I'll glue it onto the cap to finish it. It's B for Brooklyn Dodgers. Next, I'll glue on Jackie's eyes. Then I'll glue on his smiling face. Then I'll take my crayon here and give him a nose. And finally, I'm going to write Dodgers on his uniform. And there you go, your very own Jackie Robinson craft. Try making one at home. Thank you so much for tuning in to Magic Treehouse Club. Do you have a favorite baseball player? Vote in the poll after this video and find out the winner next week. Your choices are Jackie Robinson, Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, and Ted Williams. Thank you so much for tuning in to Magic Treehouse Club. See you next week.